Thank you so much. It's nice to see a few familiar faces in this crowd as well. I'm really pleased to be here, and thank you for having me. Again, I'm Katherine Pohlidal. I have been working with Women with Children program at Miseracordia University for now 10 years, and in that time, I've learned a great deal about what it really takes in order to help families thrive in a higher education institution. And by doing that, what we have really developed over the last decade especially has been this holistic two-generation model program that really serves women who are single mothers who are living at or near the poverty level and their children with the opportunity to not only attend college full-time, but bring their children with them, and together as they work with us and collaborate with us, not only do they recover from a lot of the negative ramifications that poverty presents in their lives, but also helps them to thrive and succeed once they get their degree. And so I wanted to give you a little bit of a sense of Women with Children first, because it is really truly the precursor to a larger initiative that's now been launched in northeastern Pennsylvania called the Parent Pathways of Northeastern Pennsylvania program. And I will say it's very important to highlight the Robin Hood Foundation in this endeavor, because what they essentially did was they're a large philanthropic entity that's based out of New York City. Historically, that's their catchment area, and they didn't really step out of it until the last 3 years, where they decided to launch a 9-state national pilot program where they wanted to encourage all of our regions, including northeastern Pennsylvania that were selected, to come up with new innovative grassroots initiatives to help families out of poverty through a sustainable plan. And in doing so, coming up with a new type of partnership or program that would emanate out of the people from the area that it serves. And that's exactly what's happened here in northeastern Pennsylvania. So when we talk about innovation and why here and why now, it's because we actually have the capacity to do this. I am pleased to say that there's some of our partners here today with not just Misericordia University, but also Johnson College is here, as well as Luzerne County Community College, that has been working collaboratively with us for the last few years to come up with this new program. And so I think the biggest challenge for us was to get a whole group of people at one table and to say, you know, where are we in northeastern Pennsylvania? It's Luzerne, Lackawanna, Wayne, Wyoming, and Susquehanna counties that we've targeted in this pilot. And what we've done is we've really decided to innovate out of a new type of partnership and collaboration that blends the connection between higher education with intentional overlap into community service providers within these respective areas. So what we're really doing is we're modeling a two-gen holistic model, but in a much larger scalable version that's bringing these partnerships in a way that it's never been done before. What we found in the first, we're into year 3, but in the first years, we really discovered that there are a wealth of different types of community service providers in our area, and we're very lucky to have a robust amount, an amazing amount of higher educational institutions here in this area that offer a lot of different types of opportunities, whether it be just amazing programs as well as specialized programs that help certain student cohorts. So what we've really done at this point is developed a new program that we've launched since early November of last year that really invites parents who are living at or near the poverty level to access education by creating a true pathway. And I always say this, we champion a DEI all the time in higher ed. That's a lot of what the focus has been on. So when we talk about diversity, we talk about equity and inclusion, these are huge priorities. But the word that seems to be missing more often than not, unfortunately, is the word access. So how are we going to get to those deliverables if we don't create an access point in the first place, especially for populations that are historically marginalized and are oftentimes underserved? And so by doing this, what we've done is put the attention on this population of families. If you look at the demographics for our region, and we do have the Institute working with us as well, we did a survey through COVID that indicated that when you're looking at the largest population of individuals who are living at the poverty level in our region, the largest representation of families in poverty are single mother households. So when we're looking at a two-gen approach where we're not only helping the parent, but we're also helping the children at the same time, we're creating that doubled benefit. And so we wanted to highlight this program to you today because it is, I think, something that's a lot more innovative, and that we've been able to actually explore and think about ways in which we may create better access. So the way we do it over this footprint is we've created this centralized process that starts with what we call a Pathfinder form. We actually had Geisinger Medical College students help us develop this form and work with us in kind of from the ground up, teaching and learning as they went as well, the impact of poverty on families. This Pathfinder form is a very straightforward form that gives us an indication of what the family is experiencing, what they're most worried about, what their barriers are that they've self-identified, and then also what their goals are as well. And then what we do is through a new role that we've created that's based out of each of these particular counties, it's called a pathway advisor. That person becomes their core central person that they're going to be working with for case management, to onboard them into programs, and to also evaluate and assess their basic needs and help to match those needs through a process of case management that's utilizing a platform called Unite Us PA. Unite Us PA is really a pretty phenomenal tool to consider. If you haven't looked at it, I highly suggest checking it out. That really helps to navigate a person to the access points that they need for any of their needs, basic needs, services, service providers. It's also a way for all of us as partners, and you'll see, if you scroll down a little bit, you will see all of our partners at the bottom of this website, but there are many, and they're representing different higher ed institutions as well as community service providers throughout our region. And we're all kind of combining forces. That Pathfinder Forum takes that person, navigates them into what are those next steps. The pathway advisor stays with them, and we start to execute what we call a warm handoff. So one of the things about case management historically is you sort of do a referral and then you're sort of done. We've changed that, and what we've done is we say, no, we're just beginning, and we're gonna stay with you through this whole process. And so we call it warm handoffs. What we then do is, as we're applying these basic needs and really matching up the services that they need as they go, we're making it very possible for parents to actually access the education that they're looking for while remediating out barriers that they're facing as they go. We've already seen in just the last few months a pretty successful response from Pathfinder, Pathways advisors and the Pathfinder Forum, as well as the students, in saying that not only are we meeting their needs and identifying the barriers, but we're taking them out of the way, and they're finding that they are creating access to education. We are also seeing that there are students that are now graduating. They're actually completing their goal. So what we're finding is, if we're working collaboratively like this, and we're looking at the opportunity for all of us to understand and learn from one another too, what service providers and opportunities we have in our own area, we're actually able to execute this and help navigate that pathway to success for each parent. So what we're also looking to do, and this is something that was sort of eye-opening for us, Robin Hood, when we were talking about urban and rural sort of settings and stuff, we thought, okay, we have this footprint. We have Wilkes-Barre, we have Scranton, that's our urban setting, and then we have these rural sort of areas too, like Wyoming County, Wayne County, Susquehanna County, and they basically came back to us and said, you're all rural. We're all rural, apparently. So that was a little bit eye-opening, but then again, they're from New York City, so I guess we'll have to appreciate their perspective, right? But trying to highlight our own challenges around things like logistics, transportation, childcare, food. Looking at through the lens of the model of the Women with Children program, we've learned in the last 23 years that if we literally provide those types of access points and get the services that a person needs, they actually do achieve their goals. And so what we've been able to do is replicate that out, cross-replicate that out across this county footprint, and be able to say, these are the types of partnerships that we need to develop, that we need to have, and that we could also then say to higher education, take a deeper dive in on your own institutions. How do you start to mine the assets of your own institution and what your offerings are, and making it possible for more students to not only access the providers that you might even have on your own campuses, but also to develop new partnerships that didn't exist before. And that's what we're finding, is that higher ed is starting to look at this, and if we're looking at it through just the lens of enrollment and our goals of enrollment, oftentimes what we see is these underserved populations are now starting to surface more and more. And how are we able to access them? How are we able to support them? And think about ways in which we can take what may even already be a great institution of higher education that's doing so much, but able to take that and then think about the assets that you can either add to or highlight that are going to better serve this population of students. So again, this is a snapshot of what we're trying to do and what we're achieving. As we're going into year 3, we have developed a cluster of new partnerships that we are developing with this that are sort of in tandem. One of them is called Persistence Plus. Persistence Plus is a nudging system that is really helping a student to navigate through all the way to graduation or whatever goal that they may be in. This has been something that has been a great asset for us as institutions to collaborate with. We're learning a lot around the communication that our students are having with this. It is a text platform, so they're actually being nudged on their phones and are navigated to services and service providers that they may highlight as something that they might need. Another component to this that we are working with and collaborating with is called YUP. It's Young United Parents. It's an online platform that we highly encourage you to look at if you're interested to see how young parents are communicating and supporting other parents in their communities and in the region. It is a national platform, but we're actually going to be having our own Northeastern Pennsylvania mentor that will be based out of YUP that will be working with our students specifically in the Parent Pathways of Northeastern Pennsylvania program as well. So as we're doing this and we're kind of blending in all of these types of service provisions, we're also adding in another component with a organization called Results. And Results is a nonprofit organization that also helps with building policy and advocacy for student parents. We actually have the Pennsylvania rep for Results is a graduate of the Women with Children program. She's actually now an attorney who's working for Results, who is helping students develop and find their voice and be able to go and speak with legislators and go to Capitol Hill, you name it. They're getting the training that they might need in order to then advocate for other student parents going forward as well. The great news is we have some partners here that surely could highlight even more success with other students they've already engaged with. But even just meeting, we actually met with the state earlier today and just talking about how this is not just unique to our region, this is across the board. And what can we be doing and learning through our own programs here in Northeastern Pennsylvania that could have a remarkable influence not only on our state, but maybe nationally as well. So I know I've covered a lot and I've said a lot, and I would prefer to maybe open it up for any kinds of questions you might have at this point, if I could answer. That would be wonderful. So just put it out there. If you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them at this point.
So Katherine, when we are talking to prospective speakers, one of the things that we talk about is, can you encourage your audience to figure out a way to want to learn more? So I have about 8 billion questions. So I guess that means that was a really good presentation. So please allow me to congratulate you and all the partners, many of whom are sitting kind of over there, on the great work. I'm Dr. Allegro, I'm a math person too, I'm a numbers person. Can you talk about the numbers a little bit? How many people you started with? What are your goals? Just, can you paint me a picture with some math?
Yeah, so in terms of just the program itself and how we developed this, we had a steering committee initially that helped to kind of convene and talk about what we wanted to do. We had to present micropilots, proposals and to see what we would, maybe potentially do. And the one that was selected to do this was basically replicating out our model for women with children, but then partnering with community service organizations. And so it actually started rather small. We were talking about this earlier today. There may be about 5 or 6 of us in a room just trying to figure this out and troubleshooting and thinking about how we were going to approach this over the 5-county footprint. And now, 2.5 years later, we have over 30 plus partners that are involved just alone in developing this program and really starting to think about how we can curate a response to the needs of the cohort that we're trying to serve. At this point, we have over the 5-county footprint, we have over, I believe, 30 students that have engaged in the Pathfinder Forum and are on the platform for Unitas PA, and that's just growing. We also have, I think, a strong response in the respective schools for Johnson College, Luzerne County Community Colleges, and Misericordia. We have specific programs that are also serving cohorts of parents already, whether it's the KEYS program with Melissa, Johnson College and the RISE program with Liz, and then the Women with Children program as well. So I want to say that the forecast is looking really good in terms of our numbers climbing up exponentially, but then we are already seeing some outcomes too. We had 3 examples of students who've already graduated in the last 3 or 4 months too that have gone successfully through this program and have been helped by it. And I will mention too that Robin Hood started with a $1.7 million award to Northeastern Pennsylvania to do this. 1 million of it has been allocated for this purpose. And so, again, I think that all of our partners are stewarding really great work that's also going to result in, I think, our numbers climbing in terms of the students that we're going to be able to serve. Plus, we're making our higher ed institutions, I think, a lot more family-friendly and student-parent smart in that sense, by outfitting spaces, learning more about what they need, and then building in amenities that will match that type of need as well. So, yeah, so I think we're in a growth curve right now, and we're really excited about what year 3 is going to bring for us, but so far our projections are looking very promising.
What kind of skills do you target in your education path? Kind of looking at your website.
Yeah. So it depends on it. Certainly, if you're looking at, it was pretty intentional for us to look at different types of higher education institutions to begin with. So looking at community college, looking at a technical college, looking at four-year institutions, obviously there are going to be different sort of thresholds for educational achievement and then also eligibility. We are willing to certainly work with any parent who's interested in engaging in this program, and that would even start with the completion of a GED. So from that point on, we could then be working with them to develop a plan and to work with their educational access and maybe what's going to be the right fit. I think a lot of times, I always say this, a lot of our parents, when our moms are graduating, will say, I never thought this was going to be me. And we really want to change the mindset of a student and their outlook, especially if they're in poverty or they've been underserved, to say, yes, this can be you. But also we're including at this point, now going into year 3, so with all of those opportunities, educational opportunities in front of them at these different institutions, increasing our partnership with more higher ed institutions as well as the trades. So we also have an IBEW that's working with us in this year 3 that's also creating that pathway for trades. So we're just looking across the board. It's kind of like fanning out all the options and really educating parents on what's really out there for them and what's going to be that best fit that's going to meet their needs and certainly help them meet their goals.